Hello again, Struck. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Torchlight 3, and this one is for the Electrode subclass with the Sharpshooter main class. It's a 2.0 version of the Electrified, and it's much better than it was before due to fixing some bugs such as Revolt now working with Scout's Bones and us being able to do what you're seeing, 3 consecutive Scout's Bones thanks to 2 charges of Revolt. Then there's also a lot of new items since the first version of this build, and I'm using some of those. For example, I'm using the Ancient Ember Boots for Imbue Relic. That is an item granted skill, and it resets, not resets, but it refills our energy. And if you have the set bonus, it can also reset the cooldown of a 1000-volt burst, which I didn't use specifically for this setup. And then another thing I'm using is the Frostwall, and alongside the Frostwall I'm using one more item from the same set to increase the cooldown reduction of the Frostwall, and Frostwall reduces the cooldown of item granted skills, which Imbue Relic is. You can see I'm also using 1000-volt burst in the setup. I'm using it as a tier 2, so I can get some extra casting speed, which makes me shoot explosive arrow quicker, and this time instead of targeted strikes I've decided to use explosive arrow, but it's fine. This build can be used with any precision skill except maybe Heartseeker, because it just has too long of a cooldown. You can't use it as a main spammy DPS. But the build is flexible, and there are some various ways you can play it. If you don't like Localized Storm, you can also even switch that one, although I think Localized Storm is the way to go for this specific setup. I'm seeing much better results than the older version of the build, so I hope some of you out there enjoy it and have as much fun playing this build as I do. I've recorded this footage in regular mapworks at level 60 on Ridiculous with kind of junk gear with 7.4 thousand damage on my main hand weapon, which obviously can go better. Here we are at the skills segment, where I'm going to talk about which skills I've leveled up to what levels and why. I'm gonna quickly just skip to show you every single skill tree here. If you wanna skip ahead, and if you just need those levels and wanna skip ahead to the next segment. So now let's talk about why I've taken each of the skills. Revolt maxed out, plus extra 2 points from my gear. So I get plus 2 precision and plus 2 adventurer skill points because I've got this and this alongside another piece of the set, which in my case is the shoulders, but for you it could be something different. So I'm gonna leave it up to you to decide. I'm more about the gear in the gear segment. So that means this gets a little bit of extra cooldown due to the extra bonus levels. This gets a little bit of extra damage due to the bonus levels, and those are the only skills I've actually leveled to the right level, including the bonus. Most levels you would see this one instead of level 6 is level 4 plus 2, which still gives me 6, which still gives me the tier 2 bonus. So most other class skills are like that, because I don't think I need those extra bonuses. See, this one I only use for a passive, so extra damage is not gonna work for me. I only use it for the damage to relic skills, and 10% damage to relic skills boosts things like Localized Storm, things like Lightning Strike, and even... Actually, I don't think Lightning Strike gets boosted from it. In fact, I've tested it and it doesn't. So this gets boosted by it, this gets boosted by it. If I was using this and this, they would get boosted by the 10% relic skills damage. I think the developers need to make it so that relic passives also get boosted by this 10% damage. I need to remember to make a ticket for this. So let's move on to the adventurer side of things. Scout's Bones. 10 levels by getting 8 plus 2 for the tier 3 for extra rat bows, and combining that with the Infectious shooter in the Legendarium, which I strongly suggest to put in the Legendarium instead of equipping it on yourself, so you can wear an Arctic armament weapon. It gives us this goodness. Bows, bows, bows. Triple the bows. With triple the poison projectiles. Now, sacrifice to Goose is there for the extra cooldown reduction. Right now this cooldown reduction only works on sharpshooter skills, and it unfortunately doesn't work on all, so movement speed, movement skills don't get affected by the cooldown, but it should they should get affected by it. The Disc Mage got a little rework, and the passive bonus for Dark Spears, which is equal to this, instead of giving cooldown to Disc Mage skills, gives cooldown to everything, including the relic skill, the barrier relic skill. It's different for each relic, but it's always 20 seconds, and it gives it an extra 10%, so 2 seconds shaved off of the cooldown. And on the Disc Mage you can also shave off 6 more seconds from the Imbue Relic cooldown, which is 60 by default. So you either get it at 60 without the passive and without the Frostwall North Mace. With just the Frostwall you get well, actually with just the passive you get 60 minus 6, 54. With just the Frostwall you get 45. With the Frostwall and this skill you should get it to 45 minus 6, which is 39. And then with the shield and an extra item, which could be the mace, it could be the sword, you get it down to 30 seconds, and you would be able with the passive to get it to 30 minus 6, so 24 seconds. Which means every 24 seconds when you trigger Imbue Relic, you can trigger My Lil General, which is pretty decent. The casting speed actually makes Explosive Arrow shoot quicker, so keep that in mind. I'm gonna try and demonstrate it in a moment while it's generating energy. So this skill, Imbue Relic, you get from the Ancient Ember Boots. We don't necessarily need the extra bonus from the set, but the extra bonus from the set, if you can get 3 pieces, for example, to get the shoulders and then maybe to get the Ancient Ember, I'm not sure what else you could get, maybe a helmet would work okay with this build. So if you get Ancient Ember shoulders and helmet, that means you have to sacrifice 1 Legendarium slot so you can put the Musketeer, and then you have to put Musketeer gauntlets, robe and legs. I wouldn't recommend Ancient Ember legs or chest or gauntlets for this build, because they're not synergized for those skills. If you want to sacrifice a legendary skill, such as the pants, you can equip pants and shoulders, and that means for your pants you're not getting any gains from the legendary skill, but at least you're getting the set bonus on those shoulders and on those boots, and that means you can get Imbue Relic to not only refill the energy, but also refill the energy charge fully. So yeah, that's it about Imbue Relic. Now back to the skills side of things. Here we have Ghost Visage at tier 1, which is 1 plus 2 levels. This one is actually 4 plus 2, and this one is for just the mobility, just for the extra charge. Loyal Shasta is a must-have skill for any sharpshooter build. It's a sharpshooter's best friend, and it gives you 50 increased damage to taunted enemies, and she can taunt. This damage doesn't apply just to the minion, it applies to you as well. So whether you're using a basic attack or any adventurer skill or a precision skill or a relic skill or a proc from an item or an item granted skill, this 50% damage to taunted will apply, and Shasta can do the taunting. Alternatively, you can use Ghost Visage tier 3 to taunt, but it's unreasonably low duration, only 2 seconds, which means you're gonna have to be spamming Ghost Visage a lot of the time to keep it up, and this lasts for 8 seconds. Much better to have a taunt that lasts for 8 seconds instead of one that lasts for 2 seconds. And that's it for the adventurer skills. On the relic side of things, maxed out Localized Storm. I strongly suggest doing that. If you don't like Localized Storm, switch to Chaotic Strikes or Conjure Electrode. They're all fine. If you do switch to Chaotic Strikes or Conjure Electrode, you might want to consider maybe removing 2 points from here and keeping it at 1 point, and maybe putting the points here, or maybe putting the points here and maybe removing some points from this one and keeping that at level 1, and putting points here. So This one at tier 3 is very good for Conjure Electrode and Chaotic Strikes builds. If you're using Imbue Relic, you don't need this at tier 3 when using Localized Storm, because with just Imbue Relic you can keep Localized Storm up at all times without even stacking this affix, the duration to Localized Storm. It's good before you get Imbue Relic to stack that. It drops on boots and gauntlets on gloves, so keep that in mind. And alternatively, you could even put a point or two in the lightning barrier if you want that block chance. It's not amazing, but it's okay. It's gonna give you block chance, and it's fine. It's fine as a skill, but I personally don't have room for it. And that pretty much is it for the skills. For the Legendarium, I would say this is a must-have and this is a must-have. I wouldn't do the build without those two, now that they fixed the revolt to reset the cooldown of Scout's Bones, and now that the Lil General exists. So what you can do is you can wear the Lil General if you don't think you need a shield with block chance and defense. You can wear a Lil General and then put the Frostwall in the Legendarium. And by wearing a Lil General you can get things like cost reduction to the energy skills or relic energy generation, or you can get even flat damage on a Lil General, as well as ammo regeneration. This one is a forge, so it says heat generation, but it would be ammo regeneration. But whether it's a shield or a Lil General, I'm gonna talk about it in the gear, but you would want a chance to shock, so you can trigger this as often as possible. And by the way, I probably didn't mention why we take those, but this is even at level 1 it's amazing because of the duration, the 3-second duration increase, and this one is a nice proc. So back to the Legendarium. Herman's Masterwork, this is a flexible slot. If you don't use Explosive Arrow, obviously don't use Herman's Masterwork. If you decide to use targeted strikes or onslaught or whatever, you can try and use the onslaught synergy item if you feel like it. I still wouldn't like it myself, but targeted strikes is a good thing, but targeted strikes doesn't have synergy item. Other good choices to put would be some Winter Weave and Woods Beast items. The Woods Beast boots, a very good item, so consider using this if you want more crit chance and more immunity to stun and knockback. Winter Weave Powderons would give you an extra teleport. If Ghost Visage is not enough, you can have another blink, but then you have to remove something from the skill bar and it's not worth it in my opinion. Winter Weave Gauntlets, I'm already wearing this, but if you're not wearing it you might slot it in the Legendarium. If you want more farming, more movement speed and item work, Winter Weave Cuirass is nice. Winter Weave Boots is also pretty decent. And so is the Wanderer's Hood. Skittering Shoulders are nice, but you might have to will have to sacrifice a slot on your skill bar to use it. Skittering Boots is not bad, but it spawns those things close to you, I think. So you'd have to be much closer to the enemies. Quicksilver is decent. You shouldn't underestimate Quicksilver, and Headhunter, nothing you shouldn't underestimate, especially if you're running if you're running the Ancient Ember shoulders, especially with the set bonus. Another thing that could be good, arc powered shoulders, arc powered boots, Ancient Ember helmet. You might want to experiment with that one, it's not bad. But the arc powered shoulders would require you to sacrifice a skill bar slot. And arc powered pants I would avoid because it only boosts the actual shock bolt damage when you hit an enemy and shock it. It doesn't increase the shock bolt damage of things like what was the name of that skill? The shocking display, and it doesn't increase the damage of shock bolts from Conjure Electrode or from lightning barrier, so keep that in mind. And I think that's pretty much it. I might have missed some items. If I did, I'm gonna try and mention some things on the website version. Normally that's how it is, but I think I've pretty much given you most of the items that are worth considering for this slot. Now let's talk pet skills. The pet skills I like taking I always take Healing Friendship. You may not like it and you may not need the healing, I always take it, and you're gonna see in the gear segment why. I synergize certain things. I like doing something like this. This is a good way of doing an offensive setup. So this would probably be your ideal setup. If you're using Woods Beast Boots, you can maybe remove Deadlier Strikes because you won't need as much crit chance, or you can use Wood Beast Boots and get crit chance in the gear. Or you can use Deadlier Strikes and crit chance in the gear and not use Wood Beast Boots, like what I'm doing now. You can get crit chance on the helmet and on the pants. I don't have crit chance here, so I only have 5.8 here. So right now my crit chance is 21%. The Woods Beast Boost gives you 25 and the cap is 40. So if I had another 5% here, I would be at around 25. And then with Ghost Visage I get extra crit chance to Explosive Arrow but not to other things. So I'm gonna leave it up to you. If you don't need crit chance, then put Defender or this one here. Any other aura. Zoom is I take because the extra attack speed procs the Drought Neckband and Token of Invigoration more often. And this one is just for extra damage buff every now and then. I'm a bit on the WoW defense side right now because I'm using WoW level items for defense, those two. And they're taking my defense very low. And then there was another thing, I probably unequipped it, that was giving me evasion instead of defense. So yeah, my defense is not that great, that's why I was using that while recording some of the footage, but ideally I would be using this. And that's pretty much it. I would avoid using this because it was broken. This one worked for me, but not very often, and this one seemed broken. Ideally I would use this to test it when it's fixed. So that's it for the skills. Let's talk about the gear. Here we are at the segment where I'm going to talk about the items to take and what affixes you would want. So keep in mind my gear is kind of mediocre and bad. So that's why my stats are shitty, but that's why I was showing you footage that's good for my gear. I wasn't showing you some level 60, 100, 200 Fazeer. I was showing you some map works in the video. So you would want a North Mace with a Frostwall, you would want 3 pieces of the Musketeer set, and of those 3 pieces ideally you would have the helmet and rope. You want Ancient Ember Boots, and then the other 2 pieces of equipment could either be 2 more Ancient Ember pieces, or you can mix and match some Arc Powered pieces, or Skittering pieces, or Winterweave pieces. I decided to take the Winterweave gloves because my defense is bad, so I'd rather have some extra survivability as a backup plan if I end up getting down to under 25% HP. But you might want to do it differently, but definitely put the Ancient Ember Boots, wear them. If you don't want to wear the Ancient Ember Boots, then maybe wear the Woods Beast Boots and then swat the Ancient Ember Boots in the Legendarium, in the place where I've swatted the Herman's Masterwork. Alternatively, you can also use that swat where Herman's Masterwork is to swat some other Legendarium piece like the helmet or the rope while wearing another piece to finish the set, and mix and match it differently. But I would say must have this, ideally equipped, not in the Legendarium, ideally this equipped, not in the Legendarium. And must have this, it doesn't have to be North Mace, it could be a Glacier's Edge. This is what the North Mace looks like minus remodeled, this is what the Frostwall looks like minus remodeled, this is what the Glacier's Edge looks like. So you would want to wear the shield alongside one of those 2 weapons. Or alternatively, you can wear the Lil General and then swat the shield in the Legendarium on the Lil General swat. But you want the set bonus, and to get the set bonus you must wear 2 pieces. You can't put 1 piece in the Legendarium, another piece equipped to get the set bonus. Some items work in that way, but not this set. And you need that extra cooldown reduction to get this cooldown down. Now let's talk about affixes. On the North Mace, on the weapon, it could be Glacier attached as well, you can get flat damage at the top, which is always there. And then at the bottom you're looking for flat damage. It could be any type of element, it doesn't matter. It could be ice, physical, poison, electric, fire, it doesn't matter. You want flat damage. Mine is shitty, terrible. Ideally you would have 3 pieces of flat damage, or if not 3, maybe 2 pieces of flat damage with crit damage or crit chance, or extra skill levels to explosive arrow, or whatever your main damage dealing skill is from the precision tree. It could be targeted strikes, it could be tight grouping, it could be scatter shot, it's up to you. So that's some good suggestions. Another good thing that you can get alongside 2 flat damages is chance to shock, but ideally you would have a socket on your offhand and would get chance to shock there, so you can get more flat damages here. So flat damage with crit chance, flat damage with crit damage, flat damage with levels to your damage dealing skill are fine. Flat damage to chance to shock are also not bad. Additional bolt fire on shock is not a bad thing, but it's better to get it someplace else and to get more damage here. Then on the shield you would want, it always gets defense and block chance at the top. Sometimes it's only block chance, but I've noticed the legendary ones are always with defense and block chance. And then at the bottom you would want ideally more defense, maybe a little bit more block chance depending. And then elemental defense is also not bad, but it only works against that element, whereas physical works against all elements. And then chance to shock in a socket from the elemental bonus thing. And you want this chance to shock, you don't want the bad chance to shock, which is plus X% to shock chance affixes. You don't want that one, you want this one that gives you chance to shock with duration, with damage. Then on the helmet you can get crit chance, you can also get crit chance here. On the helmet you can also get things like extra skill points, so getting 3 extra skill points to explosive arrow would be amazing for you. Or extra skill points to Localized Storm, also nice to consider. Then gearwork is not bad, it's good, but it depends whether you need gearwork, whether you need more defense, or whether you need things like relic energy generation. You can get that there. On helmets you can get things like this relic energy generation and this relic energy cost can roll on helmet and gauntlets. They're also good stats. The best thing for the pauldrons, for the chest and for the pants is damage with explosive arrow or your main damage dealing skill. In fact, I was using explosive arrow because I love the skill and because I had some gear with explosive arrow damage. I didn't have a lot of gear with damage to tight grouping or onslaught or targeted strikes, that's why I used this one here, and this is okay. So you want damage with explosive arrow over 30% on the legs, on the chest and on the shoulders. The shoulders can also give you crit damage, which is nice, and it's recommended to get it alongside the damage to explosive arrow. This one can give you alongside the damage to explosive arrow flat damage, or at least used to. I don't think it gives flat damage now. So the second best thing would be crit damage or crit chance. Ideally crit chance, because you can get crit damage in other places, but crit damage is also not bad. Then there's also elemental damage to a specific element, but that only works if you have that element. So like my boots are giving me extra ice damage. So you can see from 6.4k it goes to 6.9. And that only works if you're stacking. It works well when you stack it from multiple sources. On the chest you can get, as I mentioned, damage with the skill, with explosive arrow. Then you can get flat damage, number 2 priority flat damage. Then number 3 priority would be crit damage, and number 4 priority would be maybe extra elemental damage to your major, in my case ice, in your case could be different damage. And obviously get defenses and sockets with defenses on all armor pieces. Then on the boots, as I mentioned, you can get crit damage and you can get bonus damage to specific element. Crit damage is better priority than the bonus elemental damage, unless you're stacking bonus elemental damage in this and this. Those are the 3 pieces that can give you that. Extra shock duration is not bad, but I would rather get more defenses. On the gauntlets you can get this thing, duration to Localized Storm, which is very good before you get Imbue Relic. The same goes for the boots, this can roll on boots as well. Also you can get, as I mentioned, the Relic Energy Generation and Relic Energy Cost on the gauntlets, good rolls. And that pretty much should cover everything. I might have missed some stuff, so make sure to maybe check the website version for whatever I've missed. Dryad Neckband, this one is perfectly rolled because it gives me faster cooldown for pet active skills and pet attack speed as well. It doesn't have a socket, but those two stats you cannot get from a socket, unfortunately, on a Dryad Neckband. But you can get things like block chance or damage or crit damage, whatever. Token of Rapid Bartering and Token of Invigoration is my other preferred choices for the pet items. The Token of Invigoration synergizes very well with Dryad Neckband and Zoomies. On hits of your pet you can trigger this and this. This heals you, this resets your cooldowns. That's why we're stacking cooldown for pet and attack speed. And this faster cooldown for pet and attack speed you want on both of the tokens. This one doesn't have the cooldown, this one doesn't have either. Ideally it would, and ideally those would be level 60. And those would have a socket ideally with actually more faster cooldown for pet active skills in the socket. And that's how it is for the pet stuff. And Zoomies is this skill. This gives you attack speed for the pet, which is very good synergy with the neckband and the token of invigoration. And I think we've covered pretty much some of the basic stuff. Good other things you might consider, as I mentioned, arc powered items, winter whiff items, ancient ember items, before you get the things you want. Skittering shoulders, not bad, so there's some skittering items to wear. But that pretty much is it for the gear. I hope it was clear, and next we're gonna show you more gameplay footage. Here we are at the gameplay segment where I'm gonna show you more of the build in action and talk about ways to rotate the skills. The rotation is not complicated, at least to me, and you wanna start with Shasta and then follow up with Goose to down the enemies and make them vulnerable. Next you wanna maybe activate Imbue Relic to trigger Lil General and use Localized Storm, then do Scout's Bones, reload Scout's Bones, reload Scout's Bones, then if it's ready 1000 volt burst, and then start spamming Explosive Arrow. And that's it. More content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters and all sorts of wooters like that. You could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.